Talking with famous people.
Hi, I'm host Eric from Talking with Famous People, and welcome to Cooking with Philosophy. I've got 10 minutes tonight to do two things. One, cook my entire meal, and number two, explain the difference between Deontology, Utilitarianism, and Foucaultian Discourse-based ethics. And time starts now! Okay, so, what I gotta do? There's no way in hell I'm gonna do this in 10 minutes, is there? Possibly. First, what are we cooking? Well, I've got Italian sausages here. I took the liberty of putting the ingredients out on the table to save myself some time. I thought that was only fair. Italian sausages. I got cheese. I got your romaine lettuce. I got an old onion I found. I got little trusty pickles. I got frozen bread. I got chicken patties that I decided not to use. Forgot. I changed my mind. I went with these instead. These are frozen. As are the chicken patties. So, what we're going to do here, first, put a little water in there. Let that go as fast as they possibly can. I'm going to have to chop them up before they're done, because otherwise we won't finish in time. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a paper plate out and start cutting up some ingredients over here while I'm talking to you about philosophy. So, let's start with deontology. Deontology emerged as a philosophical solution to the moral absolutism implicit in the religious-based ethical system that preceded deontology. It's associated with various philosophers, of course, but I'm approaching this from a debate coach perspective, so I'm only interested in the arguments themselves, not who did it. Basically, the fundamental argument in deontology, which is by Kant, but who cares, is don't use other people as a means to an end, treat them as ends in and of themselves, or other agents, some people would say, yada, yada, yada. Okay, this is basically saying what it boils down to in terms of actual argumentation. How do you argue this point? You argue in terms of natural rights. Natural rights being considered a deontological position. So if you say, I have the right to life, you're arguing a deontological position. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is utilitarianism. As you see, I just cut some cheese onto this plate. Now, I've got to hurry because I am running way behind schedule. There's no way I'm going to do this in 10 minutes. It's impossible. I should have made it 15 minutes. Okay, so, put the cheese away. Now, I'm going to get this onion out, and I'm going to start talking to you about utilitarianism. Utilitarianism can be summed up in one sentence, which is greatest good for greatest number. It says, if you want to evaluate the ethical whatever of something, the ethical status of it, whether it's ethical, whether it's moral, whether it's immoral, yada, 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 then you have to look at the outcomes and who's helped and who's hurt and how much good is done and how much harm is done. And you add all that up, and whoever wins, that's the side that's moral, and whoever loses, that's the side that's immoral. So to speak. So for example, if you look at a robbery through a utilitarian perspective, it is very possible to conclude that in certain circumstances robberies are okay because they do a net amount of good. However, there's a lot of problems with utilitarianism. First and foremost, it just basically says, well, if you're poor, you can rob people. You can rob richer people up to a point if they're richer enough, and if you're poor enough. And I mean, it's not really a prescriptive mechanism that can be consistently applied. But anyway, that's utilitarianism anyway. It just says evaluate it on the outcomes, greatest good for greatest number. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these things around here. As you can see, they're actually coming along quite nicely. At least they're separated from one another. They're not thawed enough to cut yet, but they're getting there. Okay, so they're in this boiling broth of a little bit of water and butter. You can't see them, but I'll turn it so you can. Time's a wasting though. Here. Yeah. You see it now? Kind of grayish. Good. 5 minutes. Half my time's up. Okay, well, I shouldn't have too much problem getting to the philosophy thing. So the third basic school of philosophy that I want to talk about in this video anyway, for normative philosophy, we're talking about ethical models, ways to determine what is moral, what is not moral, is a discourse-based model such as the one that Foucault advocates for. And keep in mind, I haven't read any of these philosophers, okay? I'm just talking about how these things play out in debate rounds, how they work as arguments. And of course, my basic position is, for people who want to say that there's some different understanding or deeper understanding of what the guy is saying, then what are those arguments? Because I want to hear them. Because if you're not making arguments, you're not making points, as far as I'm concerned, right? What I'm going to do now is pull these pins out. So Foucault basically saying that if we went to court and we're going to do a genuinely ethical decision-making process, then that would entail getting together all the stakeholders, so to speak, and making a group, hearing everybody and engaging in discourse until there's consensus about what ought to be done, what the most just outcome should be. And that the discourse would be focused on the justice aspect of things. Now, I'm sure Foucault did not advocate that specific policy recommendation for dealing with criminal justice. I'm just saying that that's the natural conclusion to draw from his discursive ethics the core engine of his idea, which is discursive ethics. And everything else is there to support the notion of discursive ethics that as being superior to the alternative to discursive ethics, which is called principalism. And principalism is stuff like Deontology and Utilitarianism, which says that we can determine whether something is ethical or not by applying an algorithm of some sort. Foucaultian discursive ethical decision-making is predicated on the notion that there is no single way to determine the right course for ethics like that. No single system works as a mechanism, which I tend to agree with. And I tend to agree with Foucault in principle regarding that. The problem is, of course, then you're not really giving us anything useful to go on, except there's a sort of a behavioral prescription of, well, engage in discourse. But what happens when people's discourse reaches points of conflict? How do you determine who's right and who's wrong? At that point, you've got to appeal back to some sort of standard. And, otherwise, you're requiring of language something of which it's incapable, which is for its usage to land on the side of truth when you have malevolent ENTP style discourse warriors advocating the other side. As long as your discourse warriors are advocating for good, fine. But the problem is this. Most of the discourse warriors are advocating not for good, they're advocating for bad, but their intentions are good. And it's something that causes a lot of confusion amongst people, is this notion that we should base decisions on accounts of need. Like, well, this problem's really big, so we have to do this thing. Problem, of course, being people don't factor in whether or not their little thing is going to actually solve the problem. Well, there's no way in fucking hell I can get this meal done in 10 minutes. It's a good example of my bad relationship with predicting how long things will take, in general. There, 10 minutes. No, I don't know how long it took me. It's done though, see? Yeah.
Talking with famous people.
This is a terrible time to record a video when you're eating. Makes no sense at all.